Hey everyone, this is Nona from The Aligned Lover. Today we're going to look at round faces and the right hairstyles for them. I am a big believer that round face is a blanket term and there is much more to your face than trying to conform it to a basic shape. We really have to look at the relationships of your features, the shapes and curves and angles on your face, and how that extends to your hairstyle and what your hairstyle highlights. So I'm going to give you 3 different actresses to look at. We'll look at hairstyles that should be their optimal due to the popularity of tips for brown hairstyles and round faces. And then we'll look at hairstyles that I think are much more fitting, that show off the face much more. So let's start with Ginnifer Goodwin. So Ginnifer here has a lot of the hairstyles that, many sites recommend for ladies with round faces. They have the cheek and face framing layers that are supposed to obstruct the width of the cheekbones and draw the eye downwards so that you're not focused on the widest part of the face. In the leftmost picture, we have sweeping, curving layers that are supposed to create an opening so that you just see the jawline, and that takes your attention away from the width of the face and downwards. And in the right, we have a hairstyle that has a lot of height and a lot of, face framing layers that's supposed to make the face look a little slimmer and smaller because of the increased volume at the top. But if we look at Ginnifer's face, I don't think the quality that really sticks out the most in her facial features is roundness and gentle curvature. I see a lot of sharpness to her face, actually. And sharpness isn't just in the actual features, it's also present in the relationships of the features, how they kind of flow into each other. So, for example, she has quite angular eyes. Her eye shape is almost like a diamond on its side from some angles, and she has this very interesting angle from her eyebrows to her nose. And her nose itself is a little sharper. Yes, it has some roundness to it, and yes, it is small. It's not the most prominent nose, but there is a sharp tapering to her nose that gives it this very unique kind of characteristic. And then her mouth, it does have some sharpness on the upper lip, and when she smiles, her smile is a bit angular. It's linear on top, and then it is a bit triangular on the bottom, and you can really see her chin's shape. It has an almost blunt angularity to her chin when she smiles. So I think the best hairstyles for her help highlight the nature of her features. So starting on the left, we have this pixie cut that is most characterized by spontaneous, piecey chunks of hair that are very free. They are also very jagged, they're very angular, they're irregular. And yes, the height is there, which is pretty flattering, but I think the most flattering part of this hairstyle is how the angles in the hair mimic the angles in her face. And in this particular look, you can really appreciate the angles of her eyes and the sharpness of her nose, and how angular her features sit. Her features kind of sit a little closer together in the middle and a bit downwards. And this really helps kind of point the eye to that specific congregation of her features. So in the middle picture, we have a look that's more sleek. It's a bit more severely cut, and I think it works really well because it really brings attention to this concentration of her features, which is like a little bit lower on the face and a little bit more towards the middle. And, with this swoop that's very sleek here, and this angle that's just above the chin here, it really draws the eye to this region, and you can really appreciate so much concentration of her angular features there. And in the rightmost picture, it's the same kind of piecey, very free kind of pixie cut, but the pieces are not as jagged or linear or angular as the first picture. They're a bit more rounded, they're a bit more curved. And from this particular pose, you can see a little bit more curvature, especially with her cheekbones. Her cheekbones are a bit rounder. You can really see that, and you can see more of the roundness of her nose. So, if you change the characteristics of your hair, I think that brings out the characteristics of your face as well. So for the second example, we have Kirsten Dunst, starting off on the left in this kind of red-toned hair. We have these, bangs, these layers that are supposed to narrow your face by obstructing the widest part, the cheekbones, and it's supposed to really open up the jaw so you can bring the eye downwards and away from the widest part again. In the middle, we have very large hair that also obstructs the widest part of your face, and it's supposed to make the rest of the face look slimmer and bring the eye downwards with the long layers. And in the last one to the right, again, the obstructive kind of curtain bangs, and we do have these sculpted edges that are supposed to lay flat against the face and kind of narrow the jaw as well, so that you are kind of outlining your face in a certain way to try to make it look a little bit longer, a little bit more defined. But if we look at Kristen's face, her face is quite curvy. It's gently curvy. There's lots of gentle sloping. It's quite harmonious and well spaced in the features. They're not congregated in any quadrant of her face. They're quite spaced out very evenly. She has a very gently curved nose. Her eyes have, a little bit of curvature to them, almost like a half moon from some angles. Her cheekbones are nice and supple and round, as is her jawline, and her mouth has an upturned quality to it. So it's very, very curvy, and I think her best hairstyles have that gentle curve mirrored in them. So in the one to the very left, we have, a sleek, gentle curve in the waves, and it really brings out that quality in her face. In the center, we have the same kind of theme again, the gentle, sleek waves, the sloping that's, it's a bit more controlled. It's not too wide or too high. It's very sleek, but it does have that curvature to it. And in the last one to the very right, we don't have the same kind of curvature, but the most prominent part of this hairstyle is how open it is, and you can really see kind of the curves of her face, and then you have this little slope here that doesn't obstruct the cheekbones, but it does kind of mimic a gentle curve, a gentle slope, and then it tells your eye to look for more gentle slopes in the face. So for our last one, we have Selena Gomez. So in the far left one, we have, again, that same kind of obstructive curtain bang, and we have a lot of volume. It's supposed to make your face look smaller. And then we also have these longer layers that are supposed to bring your eye downwards, away from the face, away from the widest part of the face. In the second one, we have layers that frame the face and obstruct the sides of the face and the jaw, so you don't see how wide it is. And with the low lights, it's supposed to instruct your face to go downwards in a way, and it's supposed to create this illusion of length. And in the third picture with the bob, it again tries to define her face. It just tries to create an outline. And with the neckline, it's supposed to bring your eye downwards again. But if we look at her best hairstyles, I think they really help highlight the unique spatial, relationship with her features. I think most of her features are concentrated a little bit more central and then a little bit more downwards, and they have a little bit of an upturn to them as well. It's like forward and upturned. So the hairstyles that highlight that keep the tension on this part of the face so they don't go too long, and they don't obstruct that congregation. They don't hide the cheekbones or the jawline, because when you see the jawline and the cheekbone, you can really appreciate how much the features kind of move towards the center and down, and then have that slight upturn. So in all of these hairstyles, that is achieved. And since her features are a mix of broad, angular, and soft, hairstyles that are best for that are a little bit more broad in stroke. They're not the most intricate hairstyles. They're not the most sleek hairstyles. They're the most relaxed. They have an innate shape and movement to it, but it's very relaxed. They're painted in broad, loose strokes, kind of like her face is. I'm not going to trace out her face with the most intricate lines. If I were to trace out her face, I would use a chisel tip marker and paint it the easiest in broader strokes. And I think that's the kind of hair that looks best on her. So that's what I think about these three ladies. If you're trying to figure out how to cut your hair, just look at your face, see what you want to emphasize, and don't stop at settling for hairstyles that are pre-approved for round faces, because there's more to your face than a basic shape that you want to kind of box it into. So I hope that was helpful. Feel free to check out my site, The Aligned Lover. I offer personal consultations, and subscribe for more videos. Bye.